In today's video, we are going to be talking about a very common topic, which is a skinny fat physique. What we're going to do is show various body types and break down whether they are skinny fat or not. So starting with this type of physique here that you're seeing on screen, I've been sent images like these time and time again from people asking me how can they lose their skinny fat body. And I have to kind of sit there delicately think how to kind of tell these people that they are not in the realm of skinny fat. They're technically just overweight. As a difference between being fat, overweight, and skinny fat is the lack of muscle mass.
So if you take these physiques that you see on screen here, the one on the left is a physique I often get sent as skinny fat because he's someone that if you put on a t-shirt, you probably wouldn't know he was out of shape purely because he has a slim looking face for the most part. Yes, that's the basic requirements of someone that's skinny fat. However, his proportions are totally different to the one on the right. He looks much broader. You can kind of see he has a frame to him. So simply put, he's not skinny fat. He's just carrying more body fat than he would like. Whereas you look at the one on the right, you can see very petite frame for the most part, but then they add these excessive amounts of the body fat that's on their physique, even though their overall frame is still very petite. So that's when you start seeing the difference between someone that's just carrying more body fat than they would like, overweight by definition, not obese, but just overweight, compared to someone that actually really is skinny fat. And here's another example here. No joke, this physique, I've been sent and people asking if they're skinny fat because they don't look fat with a t-shirt on, but when they think of fat, they're thinking like damn near obese. This physique here is simply overweight. If you look at it carefully again, it's not a petite frame. Broad shoulders.
But if you do have these sort of physiques that I'm showing you on screen, don't fret, because if you're someone that's overweight, you're almost in a somewhat better position than someone that's skinny fat, because most overweight people do have muscle beneath the fat. So in terms of action, if you have these physiques, what I would personally do is continue weight training if you don't already, then also get into a small calorie deficit and aim to gradually reduce those calories over time. Don't just cut it every single week. If you need more specific help on how to create a calorie deficit in a safe way, be sure to check out some of my previous videos. And on the complete other end now, we have people like the frames I'm showing you on screen. A large proportion of these groups are typically teenagers that haven't finished going through puberty, and for that reason your hormones are somewhat out of whack, and also the fact that you haven't matured as a man yet to actually build muscle. But for those of you watching that have passed puberty and have these somewhat physique, you need to bulk, even if you can't see abs on your stomach. So don't automatically assume because you can't see your abs, you're skinny fat, because that is not true. Sometimes you just gotta spend time building up the muscle.
So if you take these physiques on screen now, you look at them carefully and analyze them before you jump to conclusions. Let's go with the first one first. Overall, yes, very slim person, doesn't have any abs for the most part. But if you have gym eyes, I'm pretty sure you look at this physique and you can tell that this frame would be a beast if they packed on some muscle and some more body fat. Because if you look at this frame, yes, overall they are still a slim person, but look at the shoulders, they look like they could have some capping to them. The chest, even though they're super skinny, you can see there's a little bit of definition lines in there. And also you can still see a slight bit of obliques. This sort of physique, if you got into a calorie surplus while weight training, the amount of muscle and size this person would pack on. So yeah, the one on the left, clearly not skinny fat, but the one on the right, this one is a little bit more borderline, but I'm still going to put it in the skinny, not skinny fat realm, simply because there just isn't that much fat on the body. They don't really have any love handles. The only bit of fat I can really see is a tiny bit on the front of the stomach here, which is marginal, and then maybe a little bit of chest action, but for the most part, they just look very malnourished, like very underweight. Whereas this one just looks like a slim person, probably doesn't eat enough. This person looks like they're a slim person, doesn't eat enough, but also probably doesn't have a good diet, probably very low protein. Moving on to another physique here, super common, shouts out to all my Indian followers, but I get sent physiques like this often saying skinny fat, skinny fat. Yeah, I'm still gonna go with skinny because the frame is still tiny. Yes, I can see where he's a little bit more soft in the middle, but if I'm being completely honest, even though he is very slim, I can still see a little bit of muscle like where the shoulders would be, a little bit on the arms, very slim overall. But I wouldn't say the fat to muscle ratio seems completely disproportionate. Spend a good amount of time improving your diet and just training. I feel this physique would get turned around pretty quickly, to be honest. So if you're in that standpoint, I wouldn't be too worried. This physique on the right now is a skinny fat physique. You can just tell, look at the difference. Fair enough, this is the more kind of severe end of skinny fat because this proportions is way off. You can just tell. Like if you look at this frame, you can see the man boobs, you can see the extreme amount of weight on the stomach area, the front and the love handles. It almost becomes higher than love handles. It's almost from like the midway all the way down. So you can see the fat deposits on this one stands out way more than the one on the left.
So when it comes to what actions you need to do, You definitely need to avoid excessive amounts of cardio trying to lose this mythical belly fat. You need to spend time actually growing. So definitely avoid cutting your calories. And I would even avoid maintenance calories, because maintaining your current weight is just going to keep you in the same place. If you actually want to visibly improve your physique, you need to get into a calorie surplus so you can increase your food intake. And I would say across the board, don't just simply buy protein shakes or eat just protein, fats, and carbs. Make sure you're having a nice balanced diet. I would avoid things like keto and stuff like that. So do not deprive yourself of the nutrients your body needs to actually grow. Now we are on to the actual skinny fat frames.
This physique actually, this person, once they lost weight, but the muscle has not improved at all. So overall, I'd say he has improved the ratio of fat to muscle because he's lost some of the fat. However, he didn't really spend enough time actually trying to pack on muscle, because if you look at his shoulders and everything, they still look just as narrow, just as slim for the most part. This looks more like he potentially crash dieted to get to this sort of physique. So that's why I'd say don't do the crash diet approach.
These sort of frames I'm showing you on screen now are more along the lines of skinny fat. And there is different types. There's the more thinner end, and there's definitely the more, fatter end of skinny fat. So these sort of physiques are definitely the more true definitions of what a skinny fat should look like. So depending on where you fall on the spectrum of skinny fat will ultimately dictate what course of action you need to do. However, in both instances of these physiques, they're normally caused by poor eating habits, low protein diets, crash diets, especially if you were someone that was overweight and drastically cut down their calories and lost more muscle than they should have, and finally, poor sleep. All these things here can leave you with having less muscle mass than you should probably have. So I would definitely try and rectify those things before you even move forward. So in terms of action for you guys, what you need to do is get into doing resistance training, whether that means going to the gym or purchasing some weights at home. As the more muscle you build, the quicker your physique is going to fill out and start looking more broad, rather than very skinny with little fat deposits sticking out. That's much more obvious. The more muscle you have, the more those fat areas look less visible. And in regards to the amount of calories you should probably consume if you have these sort of physiques, I would probably eat around maintenance and bump up your protein intake to roughly about 1 gram per pound of body weight you currently have. So if you're 160 pounds, then probably eat around 160 grams of protein. And then going forward, monitor your progress with photos, not just the scale. Make sure you take them flexed and unflexed so you can have a good comparison going forward. So that includes always taking them probably in the morning before you eat. That's probably the best time of day. But for those of you out there that do have a true skinny fat physique that want more in detail specific videos, be sure to click the playlist here.